Japan's population is shrinking. There are already around 9 million empty homes. And yet, every single year, builders put up new houses by the hundreds of thousands. It looks like madness, building more into a market that is already drowning in supply. But it isn't madness. It's incentives. Japan's tax system quietly pays landowners to keep putting buildings up, even where almost nobody needs them, because a plot of land with a house on it is taxed up to 6 times more lightly than the very same plot left empty. That one rule is a big reason you can buy a house here for the price of a used car, and sometimes for almost nothing at all. But it is only one reason, and on its own it would be a footnote. The question, why are Japanese houses so cheap, has a real, layered answer, and it is not poverty, and it is not disaster. It is 4 forces stacked on top of each other. So let's take them apart one by one, and finish with the tax trick that quietly ties the whole strange market together. First, be clear about what cheap means here. This is not the cheapness of a poor country or a collapsing economy. Japan is wealthy, safe, and modern, with excellent infrastructure reaching right down into small rural towns. These houses are cheap by design, the predictable output of a system that treats buildings very differently from the way the West does. 4 forces do the work. 1. Buildings are designed, financially, to lose all of their value fast. 2. Buyers are trained to want new, so used homes have almost no market. 3. Earthquake rules drew hard lines that stranded millions of older houses on the wrong side. And 4. The supply of new homes keeps growing even as the population falls. Each force pushes prices down on its own. Stacked together, they explain everything from a discounted suburban house to a free house in a mountain village. Take them in order. Force 1 is depreciation. In Japan, a building is treated like a car, not an investment. For tax purposes, a wooden house has a useful life of just 22 years. Reinforced concrete, 47. A cross that span the building's official value falls to essentially zero, while only the land underneath holds its worth. So a 30-year-old house, however solid it actually is valued by banks and buyers as little more than the dirt it stands on. That alone drags the price of any older home down toward the value of the land. And because the structure is treated as worthless, spending money to renovate it rarely raises what it can resell for, which quietly tells every owner the same thing. An old building is a cost to be cleared, not an asset to be improved. The house was never financially built to last. Strip the building's value out, and a huge share of Japan's housing stock is already, on paper, cheap before anything else even happens. Forces 2 and 3 work together to kill the demand for those older houses. Start with the culture. Japanese buyers overwhelmingly want new construction. A used home carries a faint stigma, much like a used car, someone else's wear and someone else's taste. So the great majority of home sales chase the newest stock, and the second-hand market stays thin. Then earthquakes drew a hard line straight through that stock. In 1981, after a damaging quake, Japan introduced a much tougher seismic standard, and a second major upgrade followed in 2000, aimed specifically at wooden homes. The difference is not cosmetic. In the 2016 Kumamoto earthquakes, wooden houses built under the old pre-1981 rules collapsed at around 28%, those under the 1981 standard, about 9%, and those built after the year 2000, only about 2%. So a home built before 1981 is not just old, it is widely seen as unsafe, harder to insure, harder to finance, and much harder to sell. And there is a quieter trap in between, because a large share of wooden homes built between 1981 and 2000 still fall short of the post-2000 rules. Buyers who cannot easily tell the safe from the unsafe simply assume the worst and pay less. Now the force that ties it all together, and the strangest one of all. You would expect that with demand falling and homes standing empty, builders would simply stop. They don't, and the reason is a tax. Every landowner pays an annual fixed asset tax of roughly 1.4% of the land's assessed value, plus a smaller city planning tax. But there is a powerful exception. If the land has a home on it, the taxable value of that land is slashed down to 1/6 for the first 200 square meters and 1/3 beyond that. Leave a lot empty, and you pay full freight. Put a building on it, and your land tax bill can fall by up to 83%. So the incentive is brutally simple. Always keep a structure on your land. That pushes owners to keep building even into a shrinking market, where Japan now demolishes roughly one home for every four it puts up. And it pushes owners of derelict houses to leave them standing rather than clear them, because tearing the old place down would multiply their tax overnight. It even helps explain the abandoned Akiya you may have heard about. An empty, crumbling house often stays upright precisely because demolishing it would strip the owner's discount and leave them paying full rate on land they cannot sell. The government finally noticed, and a 2015 law now lets towns revoke the brake on the most dangerous ruins. But for decades, the math told everyone the same thing: never tear anything down. The result is permanent oversupply stacked on top of an aging one. More new homes than anyone needs, plus old homes nobody will remove. When supply keeps rising while demand keeps falling, price moves one way only: down. So why are Japanese houses so cheap? Because the building loses its value by design, because buyers will not touch used or pre-1981 stock, and because a tax quirk floods the market with new structures while quietly blocking anyone from clearing the old ones. Cheap is the symptom, the rules are the cause. But understand what you are actually buying. A cheap Japanese house is rarely a bargain on a great asset. It is a fair price on a building the system has already written off, sitting on land that may still hold real value. That is the opportunity and the warning in a single sentence. The land can be genuinely worth having, especially within reach of a city. The building should be judged on its bones and its seismic standard, not on its low sticker price, because a sound post-2000 home is a completely different bet from a pre-1981 one. And the very forces that make a house cheap to buy can also make it hard to finance and hard to sell again later. Cheap, in Japan, is not the same as easy. But for a buyer who understands exactly why the price is so low, that gap between paper value and real value is where the entire opportunity lives. If this made Japan's empty house market a little clearer, subscribe to Akiya Handbook, the channel that explains how Japan's cheap houses actually work, honestly, and without selling you anything. There is also a free guide waiting in the description, the Akiya Buyer's Starter Guide, How to Buy a Cheap House in Japan Without Getting Burned. 11 chapters on the truth about so-called free houses, the hidden costs, and who should not buy. No hype, and completely free. The link is below. Thanks for watching.